Liberal Viewer presents.
So as I showed in my previous video, from the first day Fox News reported on police pepper spraying students at UC Davis, Fox News was already trying to spin the story in favor of the police, but when lawyer and Fox News anchor Megyn Kelly went to discuss the topic on Fox's top-rated cable news program The O'Reilly Factor, a show that actually calls itself the No Spin Zone, there was a whole lot of spinning going on, most hilariously when the two Fox News hosts tried to downplay the seriousness of pepper spray in this clip.
First of all, pepper spray, that just burns your eyes, right?
Right. I mean, it's like a derivative of actual pepper. It's a food product, essentially. But a lot of experts are looking at that and saying, is that the real deal? Has it been diluted because...
Yeah, they should have more of a reaction
yeah,
than
but that's really beside the point. I mean, it was something that was obviously abrasive and intrusive. And
they wanted them
Several went to the hospital.
Diluted? Well, at least Kelly mentioned that students were put... segment dismissed the story from the UC Davis police chief that the officers felt threatened by the protesters, but Megyn Kelly still made a serious error in her legal analysis of the police chief's statement here.
Here's my instinct. Here's my instinct after having practiced law for as long as I did, that she felt the need to say something in their defense. She just made something up rather than sticking with the facts, which is you're allowed to use some reasonable force to effect an arrest. Right. And pepper spray is, even though it looks shocking, allowed.
Now, the big problem with saying that pepper spray is allowed in this situation is that there's a binding legal precedent saying it's not allowed, and in fact that it violates the U.S. Constitution, as noted by the ACLU of Northern California, an organization for which I volunteer on the board of directors, which wrote a letter to the UC Davis Chancellor, Linda Katehi, stating, quote, "It has been clear for a decade that using pepper spray on protesters who have merely linked arms and refused to move violates the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution," unquote. That conclusion comes from a 2002 case from the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals that covers California, which found in a case with very similar circumstances, quote, "The protesters were sitting peacefully, were easily moved by the police, and did not threaten or harm the officers. In sum, it would be clear to a reasonable officer that it was excessive to use pepper spray against the nonviolent protesters under these circumstances," unquote. The court also explained that this use of pepper spray violated the protesters' Fourth Amendment right to be free from excessive force, but there was no mention of this court's ruling in Megyn Kelly's legal analysis, which instead seemed to be part of a continuing effort to shift the blame in this story from police to student protesters, as you can also see in this clip.
It looks like these cops have room to argue that this was not excessive force. Does that mean they should have effected the arrest in this way? That's a moral discussion.
Yeah, but I don't think we have the right to Monday morning quarterback the police.
Now, saying we don't have a right to question this kind of conduct by the police is the argument of a police state, not a democratic republic like the United States, but the real blame in this broadcast lies with the lawyer Megyn Kelly, who either didn't do her research or was dishonest about what she found, and either way, she failed to inform her viewers about important limits the Bill of Rights puts on the conduct of police officers. And despite some of the outrage on the internet I've seen over calling pepper spray a food product, I think the erroneous legal analysis is much more important, but I want to know what you think. Does calling pepper spray essentially a food product misinform viewers more than a legal analysis ignoring the important limits the Bill of Rights puts on the conduct of police? And regarding the hypocrisy involved, why do so-called small government conservatives so often forget that principle when it comes to the important limits the Bill of Rights puts on the conduct of police?
YouTube, you decide.